So, at the time of me recording this, the most recent video I've made is the one on Awdry's James and Edward models. And of course, as most videos do, it ended up inspiring me to make a model of my own, in Awdry's style of James. But I wasn't sure how I was going to do it. As you'll recall, Awdry had two James models. The first on a 260 Glasgow and Southwestern Railway locomotive, the Austrian Goods, designed by Peter Drummond, and the second being made by a Triang Johnson 3F in 060, which was converted into a 260. Well, I definitely didn't have a Peter Drummond kit laying around, and unfortunately didn't have a Triang 3F either. But I did have a Lima 4F, and have for a while in N-gauge, and while definitely not exact, it would be close enough for a Mark II James, at least in my eyes. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is how I converted my Lima 4F into an Awdry-styled James. So, let's start at the beginning. The first time this model ever showed up was actually in the second video I ever posted, and before being an Awdry-styled James was still a James, just unpainted wearing a sad face from a Tomica model. Ultimately, this was pretty boring, so I never really did much with the model. Fast forward to when I'm researching my newest video, and after the decision was made, I started work pretty quickly. The chassis was separated from the shell, and the shell was then primed. I was tempted to mask off the boiler and other parts I wanted to keep black, but with how small the body shell was, I figured this wouldn't work as well as I was hoping. So I decided to paint the entire thing red and would paint the black later. That being with Rust-Oleum, their gloss apple red color, which helps stick out from the normal Tamiya Italian red, and also to me matches the Awdry model pretty well. So soon the entire body shell and tender were painted that. I gave this a couple hours to dry and then would move in with the black detailing, using several small brushes and apple barrel black, which is normally my go-to. I painted the front of the smoke box, the running plate, and the top of the tender, doing my best to match the same spots Awdry had. Next would come his gold detailing, which was done with Tester's gold enamel, and after giving this several hours to dry, it was all sealed in with a coat of gloss clear, or Tamiya semi-gloss, as I still wanted James to be shiny, but still a little bit more on the realistic side. Being so small, it was inevitable that some paint would end up with some mishaps. So to hide this, I weathered him very lightly with some black weathering powder, mostly around the top of the smoke box, the roof, and his splasher area, to cover up the imperfections in the running board. After that, I applied some LMS transfers, specifically his 5s, and now all James needs is his lining. But there was still one thing I wanted to do, and that was to attempt extending his running plate, or perhaps giving him a front bogie truck. However, personally, I'm not very good with Tamiya putty, and every time I've tried to do such have pretty much failed miserably. So I decided to get crafty and came up with an idea. This model is likely to be used exclusively on Kato Compact Track, so adding a front bogie may mess with his performance anyway. So I figured why not add a false one. And the way I did that was by removing his front coupler, extending the area that sat in, and then putting a very small wheel set where that once was. Once it was applied, I painted it black to match the others, and currently it rides right above the rails, so it looks like it's making contact, but it's actually not, and has no effect on his performance as of now. It does look a little strange, especially without the extended running board, but honestly I kinda like it. It's like a smaller version of Awdry's model, and since he'll be running on a compact layout anyway, it works for me. Now all James needs is his lining and a little bit more weathering, and with that, the tiny Awdry James will be completed. But for now, this is how he is. And I'm happy to say this model got to go on a small vacation with me, and even got to meet the Flying Duchess in real life. So here's how that went and some running footage. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe for even more train content. Huge shout out to my patrons for everything you guys do, and consider supporting me on Patreon if you want to see videos like this a little early, or even be featured in them as well. That aside though guys, thanks again for watching. And with all of that being said, hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one.
Either subscribe, donate, or get the fuck out.